10 lakh Karyakartas from 543 constituencies listening to the Prime Minister on 27th of June heard what they had been waiting for years. The Prime Minister said, it's time. It's time that India should have a uniform civil code, an issue of core importance to the entire Hindutva brigade. This constitutes one of the three key promises that the hardcore votaries of right ideology have been yearning for. Of these three key promises, the Modi government has already delivered on two of the promises. First being the dilution of Article 370 and Article 355A with respect to Jammu and Kashmir. The second being the settlement of Ayodhya land dispute and construction of a Bhavya Ram Mandir. It's the third promise that once fulfilled shall deliver the promised land to the core Hindutvawadi voters of the Bharatiya Janata Party. And my dear, the BJP is making calculated and decisive steps towards realization of this third promise. 15 days before the Prime Minister spoke his heart out on UCC from a public platform, his first ever public proclamation on Uniform Civil Code, the 22nd Law Commission sought public opinion on UCC with a 1-month time frame to submit its final report to the government. On 28th June, one day after the Prime Minister touched upon the sensitive topic of implementation of UCC, the Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal met the Home Minister Amit Shah along with the Law Secretary. Arjun Ram Meghwal said thereafter, whatever the Prime Minister has said is as per Constitution. Not to let any adverse opinion impact the process leading up to the passage of the Uniform Civil Code in the Parliament, the government has formed an informal group of ministers to prepare the government so that it can tackle any and every hurdle that could come out of the implementation of UCC. The members of the informal core group are Kiran Rijiju, Northeastern Tribal Face, Smriti Irani, Women and Child Welfare cum Minority Affairs Minister, Arjun Ram Meghwal, the Scheduled Caste Face and Law Minister, G. Krishna Reddy, he is the BJP South India Face. All of them have been enlisted. And in cashing on the Sawan ke mahine mein Bolbam ka flavor, the Union Minister Sanjeev Balyan will undertake a Kavad Yatra from Haridwar to his constituency Muzaffarnagar. Please do remember, Muzaffarnagar is a communally sensitive district with a polarized Jat population which would go to that extra mile to see the implementation of the Uniform Civil Code. In between, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Dhami shall also be joining Sanjeev Balyan, and so will the Uttar Pradesh BJP State Chief Bhupendra Chaudhary. Now do understand the implied impact of Kavad Yatra when tied up with UCC. Incidentally, the left parties in the Kerala have been the first off the block to demonstratively oppose Uniform Civil Code. Leading the charge in Kerala, the BJP state unit has planned a massive mass connect to entice people into supporting UCC, creating a popular support group within the state where the minorities, which means the Christians and the Muslim combined together, form approximately 37% of the entire state population. Add to this, without a draft of the Uniform Civil Code, any government discussion pointers or even the draft proposal of the Uniform Civil Code from the Recommendation Committee in Uttarakhand, virtually every section of media, opinion makers, view propagators and social media specialists are already debating the pros and cons of UCC. The question that all this tamasha misses is, what is the discussion point? What form of Uniform Civil Code is under discussion? पंचतंत्र में वो कहानी याद है आपको, जिसमें एक अंधेरे कमरे में एक हाथी था 5 लोग थे जिनकी आंखों पर पट्टियां बंधी हुई थी। हर कोई हाथी के हाथ, पैर, सूंड, कान और पेट को छूकर अपने अपने नतीजे पर पहुंचने की कोशिश कर रहा था। इन द प्रेजेंट कॉन्टेक्स्ट यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड को लेकर अभी वही हाल है। यूनिफॉर्म सिविल कोड एक हाथी है, कोई नहीं जानता कि उसका स्वरूप क्या है, क्योंकि सबकी आंखों पर अभी पट्टी बंधी हुई है। नो वन हैज एन ओपिनियन और एन आइडिया, but everyone has become an expert. There are a few pointers that I want you to note. First, popular perception is that the Uniform Civil Code has always been the key agenda of Bharatiya Janata Party or its previous avatar, Jan Sangh. After all, the ideologue RSS enunciated UCC as its core philosophy to unite India. Isn't it right? Quite wrong, sir. Founded in 1967, Jan Sangh categorically stated in its manifesto, party would enact UCC to govern laws of marriage, adoption, inheritance, etc. for all citizens. But the manifestos of Jan Sangh, released in 1971, 1972, even in 1977, did not find any mention of Uniform Civil Code. Not even in the agenda of governance when Jan Sangh came to power in a coalition government at the center with the Janata Party in 1977. BJP as a political party came into existence in 1980. But Uniform Civil Code was not mentioned in the manifestos released by the Bharatiya Janata Party in its Lok Sabha elections of 1984 and 1989. In 1991 manifesto, the Bharatiya Janata Party declared that it shall appoint a law commission to study various civil laws to evolve a uniform civil code for the whole country. They did not mention they will implement uniform civil code. The term uniform civil code made its first appearance in the BJP election manifesto in 1996. When BJP promised a UCC for the entire country to foster Bharatiya identity, gender equality, and rid the people of the nation from regressive personal laws. But again, there was a change. In 1998, 1999, 2004, and 2009 Lok Sabha elections, the BJP manifesto did not find any mention of UCC. Please do recall that these are those years when Bharatiya Janata Party was in an alliance with NDA partners and did not want to disturb the apple cart. Now let's cut to 2014 BJP manifesto. There was a reference to Article 44 of the Directive Principles of State Policy, but no mention of Uniform Civil Code's implementation in the country. In 2019, the BJP manifesto mentioned Uniform Civil Code as a step towards gender equality and justice, and not as a way to restrict or constrain personal laws, operational in the country, or even to bring changes in personal law. So the question, why Uniform Civil Code is now being talked about in 2023, just 10 months prior to the elections in 2024. Now, do I need to really answer this? Well, sir, the election in India have always been won on emotive issues. From the day when India is Indra slogan, to India is Durga, to Gali Gali Mein Shor Hai, Gandhi Chor Hai, with respect to Bofors scam in 1989, Mandir Wahi Banayenge Ka Nara, the decade of 90s, Kargil victory in 1999, when Indian forces successfully defeated the Pakistani armed aggression into the Indian territories, or to the Pulwama attack, whereafter the Indian government responded decisively, entering the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Emotions have always won elections. Let me call out some data for you, which further reinforces the point as to why the BJP is now talking about Uniform Civil Code. CSDS, a prominent research agency, has come out with this basic data which says that the overall support within the country for Uniform Civil Code has moved beyond 40% across India when compared to 28% in 2004. While the major chunk of support for UCC comes from the Hindus, the support for UCC among Christians have decisively increased from 24% in 2004 to 40% and beyond in 2020. Within Muslims and Sikhs, these two communities, the support for UCC has shown either a marginal increase or actually a decrease. For Muslims, the UCC support has increased by 1% from 23% in 2004 to approximately 24% in 2020. Clearly, this is one of the best suited opportunities for the Bharatiya Janata Party to encash the positive sentiments for UCC within the Hindus, its core vote bank. Point number 2. BJP is said to have assured the entire northeastern states and their tribal representatives that Uniform Civil Code would not be applicable on tribals. Apparently, the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah, has assured a delegation of Nagaland on 7th of July. Now you may ask why. Well, the tribal societies, despite being brought under the codified Hindu Marriage Act of 1955 and the inheritance laws, hold on to their own rituals, traditions, laws of marriage, divorce, and adoption. Till now, there is a convenient oversight with respect to this unless it assumes a legal consequence. Additionally, these rights of the tribal societies have been protected well under this schedule. So why exempt them now? Because this affects the chances of Bharatiya Janata Party in securing a majority in 23 Lok Sabha seats in Assam and 7 northeastern sister states. Plus, it will also impact Bharatiya Janata Party in the tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Orissa, Bengal, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh. So these are the states which might get impacted. Is it legally possible? Absolutely it is. But then this also demolishes the very thought process initiated by the Prime Minister when he said in Bhopal, how can two laws operate in the same house? In this context, the nation. Point number 3 to be noted. A number of BJP allies, including potential allies, are standing against UCC. Sangma-led NPP in Arunachal Pradesh has categorically stated that the alliance is for progress and governance, but not for UCC. Akali Dal, a prospective ally in Punjab, has clearly voiced its displeasure. Despite the Sikhs coming under the ambit of the Hindu Marriage Act 1955, Gurudwara Prabandhak committees would not like to associate with UCC and would refrain from the adoption of UCC. Biju Janata Dal, BJD, which is led by Naveen Patnaik, is yet to make up its mind on UCC. Please remember, almost all matters of national importance, when in the parliament, find support with BJP. In Andhra Pradesh, where the BJP is looking at two possible allies, either one of these, TDP or YSR Congress, both these political parties have not made up their minds on UCC due to substantial minority and tribal vote in Andhra Pradesh. Likewise, BRS or TRS, as we popularly know, would not align itself with a political party which will be enforcing UCC with this knowledge that it will face substantive losses in the Hyderabad region. Then why is Bharatiya Janata Party risking the UCC push? It's very simple, my dear. Once the matter is pushed through the Lok Sabha, the core BJP supporter would be heartened. Even if the legislation finds its passage tough or impossible in the Rajya Sabha, then also BJP would have achieved what it intended to. Needless to say, the polarization that UCC would unleash would eventually catapult the BJP to the pole position as much as it might benefit those who are dependent on reverse minority polarization. But when compared to the Hindu polarization, minority polarization may not yield enough seats. Fourth, numerous Hindu groups have also voiced their reservation on UCC. Questions with respect to the Hindu undivided family would remain, the tax benefits accruing out of this, and the predominance of men in inheritance would be nullified. A very sticky point. Jains, Buddhists and Sikhs, as mentioned, are also who are covered by the codified Hindu law for marriage, divorce, inheritance, have their own reservations because they want to maintain their own group identity and social customs and traditions. How will BJP meet this internal challenge? Well, the verdict is out. It's a gamble that the Bharatiya Janata Party is willing to play, as numerous Hindu groups had protested even in 1950 to 55 period when the Hindu personal laws were being codified. They ultimately reconciled. So I'm sure the Bharatiya Janata Party believes that the current Hindu groups would also reconcile in due course of time. And lastly, the last point to be noted. For whom then is the Uniform Civil Code intended? The answer is very simple. I'm sure you know it. It's for Muslims, my dear. Why, you ask? Let me just give a small explanation. Prior to 1937, when the Sharia law was deemed to be identified as Muslim personal law, the law that was prevalent and governed Indians was the Hindu marriage law. It's only after 1937 that marriage, divorce, inheritance, adoption were governed by the Sharia law, which is known as the Muslim personal law. Because the Britishers codified the criminal law. It's a uniform law for all Indians. But to create social divisions, they kept personal civil laws separate for different communities. Muslims, Hindus, Christians, they all had separate laws, personal laws. This helped them divide and rule us. The Muslim community, which is stayed back post-partition, sought the assurance of continuation of the Muslim personal law. This, my dear, benefited the ritualistic, backward, regressive, middle and lower class Muslim male leaders and Maulanas. Over the past 75 years, it is this group of predominant conservative, regressive, ritualistic and inward-looking Islamic clergy which resists all forms of change to modern, equitable and just society where women have equal and equitable rights. Taking on this minority complex of the conservative, regressive and inward-looking Islamic clergy helps Bharatiya Janata Party establish itself as the savior of the Hindu way of life as enunciated by the Supreme Court judgment. This will also enforce the minority complex, and minority status will be well entrenched in the minds of the Muslims living in India. It's a goal that Sangha Parivar has been pursuing prior to independence. Please look at this hypothesis with reference to the Prime Minister's speech on 27th of June in Bhopal, where he quoted triple talaq as a law brought about by the Bharatiya Janata Party-led government to protect Muslim women from social abuse. This is the plank that both the BJP and the Prime Minister are effecting social change, and the Prime Minister is acting as a social reformer, providing for an equitable society to Muslim women. Needless to say, the entire debate is being funneled by the so-called changes that would be effected in the Muslim personal law. That's why you have Asaduddin Owaisi of MIM, Indian Muslim League, IUML, left parties, and various political parties who are dependent on minority votes for their survival shouting from the rooftops against UCC. But here again, the billion-dollar question is, why are you shouting, sir? The 22nd Law Commission report is still not out. It's due. The government is yet to prepare a draft and share it for consultation or share it with political parties for a debate in the parliament. Even the Uttarakhand government, which resolved to implement UCC in the state, is yet to bring out the draft law. So isn't this entire magajmari being done for nothing on paper? Precisely this is what the BJP has desired. Even before the draft resolution or the draft law, the views should be so polarized that political parties would be viewed either pro-Hindu or pro-Muslim. Clearly, if you're pro-Muslim, you can't be pro-Hindu. And the Hindu vote bank, once consolidated, would outnumber the minority or the so-called middle-of-the-road vote, ensuring a clear and momentous third consecutive win for the Bharatiya Janata Party. So that's one of the core thought processes. And maybe this would also portray Bharatiya Janata Party as the Hindu unifying force of the nation. Heart to heart, let's face it, one may hate the BJP's gut or may like it, but trust me, you cannot ignore it. This is a new BJP. It is Narendra Modi's BJP, which is in your face, loud and crystal clear. It doesn't shy away from achieving what it desires and what it thinks is rightfully the government's. Thank you.